So I'll concentrate in my presentation speaking about how land use changes affect pollinators, their diversity and the abundance. Therefore, sometimes these factors, they are not act independent, sometimes they act in combination, more or less like interaction or in additive effect. But all in all, bees plays a very important, very crucial role in your lives, and this is because we believe that studies show that 85 to 90% of the major food crops result from pollination, particularly bee pollination, but again 35% of the global food production depends on animal pollination. This shows that bees are very important creatures. But again, we believe that the reduction or loss of these organisms will result into food insecurity and nutrition. Therefore, we have to make sure that we conserve and protect these organisms. Therefore, this shows that pollinators play an integral part in our food supply, as well as many plants and other wildlife depends on this pollinator because it provides food resources for wildlife, but also it provides a shelter for wildlife. Therefore, it is very important to conserve these pollinators. Therefore, pollinators contribute to food security, biological diversity, and the economy. These are the hairs that I was mentioning, that bees are equipped with hairs, which play a greater role in carrying pollens once they move from one flower to another, and that's why sometimes they're regarded to be the efficient pollinators, compared to many other group of animal pollinators. This is the bit of truth about pollinator conservation, that in most cases, wildlife conservation is focused on big games, and this is evidenced in our country. Once we are speaking about national parks, once we are speaking about game reserves, we normally consider conservation of big games and ignore other taxa such as insect pollinators. Therefore, knowledge of bee conservation lags far behind other taxa such as vertebrates and plants. As is the case for the insect in general, bees are underrepresented in global conservation planning and in protection effort. And this is evidenced, for example, only 1 to bee species are on the global IUCN ready list, and only 2, and no bee is listed under US Endangered Species Act. This indicates that very few studies have been done on bee pollinators, and that's why very few individuals are represented in IUCN ready list, only 2 species. Then, I would like to share with you some impact of pollinators, and one among the impact of pollinators including land use changes. And the land use changes could be attributed by livestock grazing. And the studies have shown that livestock grazing is the dominant form of land use, and 25% of the earth terrestrial land surface is responsible for the grazing purpose. And most studies have been conducted in temperate region, in temperate Europe and America, looking at the effect of livestock grazing on pollinators. And some of these studies, including studies of Pizarro, studies of Simon Cox, studies of Davidson, and studies of today. So most of the studies that were trying to look on the impact of human land use, particularly livestock grazing on pollinators, were conducted in temperate Europe and America. This study was conducted in Tanzania. It is my own study with colleagues. And this study was trying to look on the impact of livestock grazing on pollinators. And the study found that when you do livestock grazing at a moderate level, it enhances pollinators' diversity and abundance. Means that when you do high livestock grazing, automatically you affect the foraging sources for bee pollinators. But again, you also affect the nesting sites because some of the bees, they also nest in the ground. And this indicates that bee species richness, studies show that bee species richness differ significantly between the land use category. Means that in the moderate or medium livestock grazing, there is high bee diversity, or high species richness as compared to the low or high bee diversity. Also, this shows that the impact of grazing on bee is not a direct impact. And this shows that the path analysis showed that the impact of grazing to bee diversity is mediated by changes in floral resources. Means that animals such as livestock, which feed on the plants, are the ones, are the plants which increase in abundance and diversity and lead to impact on the diversity of bees. Therefore, livestock grazing at moderate level may be salient in preserving diversity and flowering plant assemblage, and consequently this can increase the species richness of bees. However, high livestock grazing can lead to a strong decline in species richness and plant assemblages. Therefore, I encourage that people should do livestock grazing at moderate level so that we can increase the diversity of bees. Therefore, the study strong speaks that there is a need of setting the upper limit for livestock grazing at a certain moderate level in order to increase the pollinators' abundance. More about this study, maybe you can read this paper, which was published last year. But another impact of bees, a factor that affects bees, is agricultural intensification. And same to the previous study, most of the studies that were conducted looking at the impact of agricultural intensification on bees were conducted in temperate Europe and America. For example, most of these studies were conducted in temperate Europe and America. But this study, which was conducted a few years ago, it is my own study again. The study showed that when you do agricultural intensification, at high or at moderate level, it increases bee diversity, which is really strange. And this is because the kind of agricultural intensification which you're doing in tropical areas is quite different from the kind of agricultural intensification which is done in temperate Europe and America. And this is because sometimes when we do agriculture here in tropical areas, after we harvesting our agricultural products, we normally abandon the land. And when it receives even a little amount of precipitation, it allows the growth of herbs, which provide forage resources for pollinators. And therefore, agricultural intensification in Africa, particularly in tropical Africa, it increases high bee diversity. But again, also, this kind of agriculture which we're doing in Africa, tropical regions, we use very few agrochemicals, which would have direct impact on these pollinators' diversity and abundance. And this is quite different from agricultural intensification in Europe, because after they harvesting their agricultural products, they normally turn into another climate, like weather condition. It turns into winter, where the temperature becomes very less to an extent that it does not support the pollinators' activities, and therefore leads to the low bee diversity in abundance. So this shows, this is actually what I have said, and to make it short, agricultural intensification likewise does not have direct impact on the pollinators, but the impact is mediated by forage resources, or by increasing forage resources through cutting down the herbs during the farm, preparation of the farm to do agricultural activity. And therefore, this study concluded that the current agricultural intensification with a long period of fallow land means it is crucial for preserving the diverse plant community that attract more bees. But again, we expect that future agricultural intensification, for example, including year-round crop monoculture and the use of artificial water, like irrigation, will have subsequent effect on pollinators, and it may result in decline in pollinators' richness in the balance. So we encourage the kind of agriculture intensification which we are doing in these regions. More about this, maybe you can visit this literature, published article in the Journal of Applied Ecology, and you can get more details about what you've said. So conclusion, I conclude that organizations that are dedicated to wildlife conservation should recognize the significance of bee pollinators, but again they should increase awareness and conservation program to conserve these crucial creatures. But again, we recommend further research is essential in protected areas where wildlife initiatives are implemented. And actually this research could encompass some issues such as population biology of these pollinators, including systematics, including ecology and evolution, but also have studies on plant-bee interaction networks in order to know the generalist bees and specialist bees, which is very important to conserve the specialist bees, because once the foraging resources which they depend on is lost, automatically the species would undergo extinction. And this was the presentation.
Thank you very much, Dr. Lassan, for spending less time. Only few 5 seconds, yes.
Yes, when I was younger, I did something similar to this, but for cannibals. But my question is going to be whether you try to do it in a protected area exclusively, and trying to see that along a gradient, in a purely protected area like the national parks, where there is not that much disturbance in terms of floods. Because what I saw and what we're experiencing here is purely what we call disturbance and potence. You tend to get high species richness at the mid-level of disturbance. But as the disturbance increases, everything goes low. But again, you tend to get low from there.
Yeah, thank you so much, Dr. Msu. Actually, what Dr. Msu is explaining is according to intermediate disturbance hypothesis. Means that when you are doing livestock grazing, should be at a moderate level. And this is actually, we call it intermediate disturbance, because high disturbance, like intensive livestock grazing, would result into collapse and automatically remove the forage resources. But again, when it is when you are doing livestock grazing at a very low level, you may encourage the growth of dominant species, which would not be sometimes palatable to these bee pollinators, and therefore they want to go into these plants, and automatically the levels would increase or would decrease.
Chair, the reason I was asking this, there is so much push now for people to take beehives into protected areas. Now the question would be, for example, Western Tanzania. Almost everyone wants to say, okay, Tanapa, Sweden, Nturusu, Mweka, Mizinga, in the national parks. The question is it going to be productive for honey production? Based on what
I
just found out.
I think Tanzanians are not reading what professors in Tanzania have done. We all need to know, and even what you are talking, Dr. Laswell, the grazing has got power of increasing botanical composition if you do it in a low level. In Serengeti, Professor Banyiko in 1995 and his students, they did this thoroughly, and this is, the document is lying down there at Serenera Library, that if you put an enclosure and the animal are not feeding that area for only 3 years, what you are creating is to create a monopolization of kind of botany. That is, there will be a grass which is dominant. So that is reducing biodiversity. And if you are reducing biodiversity by not allowing an area to be grazed, only a certain species of bees will be there. This is actually what is explaining. So in the local area, our problem is our livestock keepers need numbers without calculating the area. So what happens? They are grazing to the 0 centimeter above the ground. Who is going to live there if you are a bee? If you're a rational bee, you will go somewhere else. But if you're a stupid bee, you try to die there. So I think I like this study, but now this is what we need to train these young people, Professor Kidegesh, that they should read even all the documents to get the knowledge from the bottom, because what he was explaining, lacking what was, Professor Banyikwa and Samuel McNaughton did from 1960s, 66 in Serenera. So go back, young boy and the other young people, to Serenera, stay there for a week to go through books that Jimmy wrote. The early scientist did until Nyaongo and Kidegesho, and then you become mature. Thank you. Now,
The question has not been answered. What I was saying is, now that beekeepers,
they want to take the beehives in the,
yes, where there is
the
no
protected
such
area
service.
because botanical composition is higher in the protected area where the grazing is moderate than outside the area where the grazing is high. So species B, I mean the bee species in the protected area is higher than the species of bees in the community land.
Yeah, this is what I wanted.
This is the concept. So Dr. Castro, I thought that, you know, I was thinking that you are the Castro. I thought that you are coming from Cuba. But it is that young boy. But we have left it tomorrow. We have few papers.
Yeah.
So I think you do it tomorrow.
Yeah.
And let us now go for tea. And then we come back for discussion, questions and the discussion until 17 hours. Is it 17 hours?
Yes.
And we come 17 to 12 hours. I mean to 18 hours. Oh, that is good, 1 hour. That is quite now, but I need to announce what you told me, or should I wait?
Announce.
I'm told this evening we are going to have a cocktail party. So all the ladies from Uganda, no. All men from Uganda and the ladies from Zambia. Zambia, is it Zambia?
Yes.
Zambia, the one was coming from Maputo. And you young people from Tanzania, and the young, I can see that young other lady from Netherlands. Are you from UK?
Scotland.
Scotland.
Are you Scottish?
No, Scotland.
Scotland, you are young one from Scotland. And you, my friend, from,
Germany.
are you German from Berlin?
I'm German from Bremen.
From?
Bremen.
You can't pronounce that.
Anyway, you are German. So we are all invited to miss. And you, my friend?
Northern Ireland.
Northern?
Ireland.
Northern
Northern
Ireland.
Ireland. Okay, we now have biodiversity of races. So we are all coming together in the evening. The Irish will meet Ugandan with this, you know, this is very nice. I saw it. And now we will go with so well, let us take some minutes for tea, and then let's come back to finish up. Thank you very much. Okay. So plenary tunafanya